Good morning, class 11th. Let's read the story The Address written by Mark Amenko. If we just go back to the background of the story, it's related to the Second World War. The narrator belonged to a Jewish family. They were living in Germany and were in perpetual danger of being imprisoned and persecuted. Most Jews were leaving their homes and going to safer places. Perhaps you might be reminded of Anne Frank, who has also described the wretched conditions and the painful memories of war. This story is divided in pre-war and post-war times. When the narrator came home after a long time, she asked her mother about certain things that were missing. Her mother told her about an old acquaintance, Mrs. Darling, who used to take their belongings home with the assurance of keeping them safe. Her mother told her to remember Mrs. Darling's address, 46 Marconi Street. So this was pre-war time. As the story starts, we just get to know that she is at Mrs. Darling's place. She is the only one who has survived. The entire family has fallen prey to the war and the wretched life in the concentration camps. When she approaches Mrs. Darling at 46 Marconi Street, she is not welcomed. At first, Mrs. Darling did not even recognize her. When she introduced herself as Mrs. S.'s daughter, she did recognize, but then she did not entertain her at all. She asked her to come some other day. The narrator had gone with a view to get back her mother's belongings. Her memories were attached to those things, but then what could she do? She sadly returns home. She did not even want to look at the things around because those things, those places, those streets were familiar, but now they were barren, they were desolate, there was no one. So she just returns home with this address, 46 Marconi Street, etched in her mind. Time passed. Things became normal gradually. And then, of course, came a moment when she felt that she must go back to Mrs. Darling again. So, with a great firm resolution, she again reaches the place. This time she was quite fortunate. Mrs. Darling was not at home. In her absence, she was welcomed by her daughter. Perhaps the daughter was ignorant of what all had happened, and so she just welcomed the narrator inside. The moment she entered the room, she felt that she was surrounded with things she knew. After all, they were their possessions, whether it was the candle holder or the antiques that were displayed there or the crockery that could be seen. The little girl kept showing things one after another, and the narrator was quietly listening. Her eyes fell on the table cover, which had a burnt mark. She tried to find where it was, and she could identify. So all the time that she was there, she was observing her things which had been tastelessly organized and arranged anywhere and everywhere. The little girl gave her information that many a times they also ate on those antique plates. This is something that the narrator could not take in, but she kept mum. She kept quiet. She silently listened to everything. So all the time that the narrator was at Mrs. Darling's place on the second visit, she felt that those things were theirs and she had a desire to take them back. But then all of a sudden came a change. She noticed the time, and at that particular moment she just got up and moved out. Mrs. Darling's daughter requested her to stay till her mother returned. But then something else had clicked the narrator. She felt that those things have been used by others. And once they had been used by others, they have already lost their value. So she just thanked her and moved out. But before moving back to the station, she again had a look at those things. Those things were theirs. That address 46 Marconi Street was very much there, but then she had taken the decision that she would no longer attach any value to this address, and she would like to forget this address once and for all. Now comes the question, why she did so. It could be for numerous reasons. One, they had lost their value. They had been used by others, and now she would not even like to touch them, use them. Secondly, she was living in a small rented room wherein there was hardly any place for anything. Besides, those things were not just things, they were memories. Memories of her mother, memories of her dear ones, and they would just evoke more memories which would haunt her all the time. So, as a survivor, she had to start life anew at any cost. And in order to start afresh, she had to forget a lot many things. Past is past. It would always be painful for her to remember and recollect the memories. Those memories could not be erased. But why to add to those memories via the objects? So she felt that if she had to start anew, she would have to forget a lot many things, and forgetting the address would be the easiest. It was a mature decision at any cost. So the story describes the human predicament that follows war. Life is really difficult for the survivors of war. The survivors live in constant fear and insecurity. The painful memories of war haunt them, and the loss of lives and property is unbearable. Moreover, it breeds hatred and enmity. The girl has very clearly and vividly described her feelings through this short story, The Address.